Globalization.
EDITH PAOLA ORTEGA CRUZ, FAUSTO GÓMEZ SALAZAR.
Globalization is the economic interdependence of countries, caused by an increase in volume and cross-border transactions in goods and services, as well as international flow of capital, and rapid widespread and diffusion of technology. It is a greater integration of markets for goods and services among nations through trade, migration, and foreign investment. Globalization results in an increase of international trade. Elements of globalization: increasing interdependence, increased international transactions and international capital flows, accelerated diffusion of technology. Globalization involves political, technological, and cultural aspects, not just trade. Milestones in the process of globalization. 1870 to 1914, during this period marks the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and the use of steam engines. The revolution led to the decline in tariff barriers. The first period ends with the post-war depression, as governments implemented protectionism and increased import tariffs to promote domestic consumption. 1945 to 1980, this period is marked by agglomeration economies, in which companies are grouped geographically or by industry production chain to optimize resources strategically. These clusters favor developed countries over underdeveloped ones. 1981, to date, over 3 decades, developing countries like China, India, and Brazil have gained great importance in the world trade. Outsourcing. Due to globalization, the practice of outsourcing has increased over the past decades. Outsourcing is used to delegate to third parties processes in order to reduce costs. The industries that have implemented this practice are automotive, footwear, electronics, and toys. Outsourcing allows a company to reduce costs by between 30% and 50%. Benefits of globalization. Globalization has contributed to the development of economies that are identified as newly industrialized countries. Trade and financial deregulation. Actions taken by the government in order to reduce regulations in certain industries and increase investments. In a globalized environment, it is logical for deregulation to happen to achieve trade liberation. Multinationals. Multinational are companies with establishments in more than 2 countries, that means having at least one foreign subsidiary. Classification of multinationals. Classification according to structure: horizontal, vertical, diversified. Classification according to how they operate: ethnocentric, polycentric, geocentric. Multinationals. Pros. Multinationals are fundamental in the economy because they encourage globalization. They are the key to growth, access to international trade, transport technology, investment, and jobs to countries where they settle. Cons. Multinationals take advantage of the low wages paid in developing countries. The only beneficiary is the company itself. The employment generated represents only 3%, and the host country's natural resources are exploited and destroyed. Potential benefits and risks. Globalization allows an open economy the exchange of ideas, new technology, increased productivity, living standards, and brings cheaper products closer to consumers. The economy in the XXI century. During the XXI century, the economy has experienced many changes, some positive and some not so positive. These changes have occurred due to globalization, new information, technological advances, and government policies. Countries like China and India have experienced a huge growth in their economy, while other countries like South Sudan and Burundi still have the lowest growth domestic product, GDP. Global economic blocks. Economic blocks are groups that arise between countries in a common geographic region. The purpose of the bloc is to promote free trade, economic development, fair competition, and create jobs, through treaties and rules of preferential basis among members' countries. Economic and financial crisis. The economic cycle is a phase in which the economy moves from recovery and prosperity to recession and depression. The economic crisis is a situation in which significant adverse changes in key economic variables, especially in GDP and employment. An economic crisis is a repetitive process in the economic cycle. Not all crises last the same time or have the same impact on the economy. Commodities. Commodities can be defined as a primary raw materials or agricultural product that can be bought and sold, also known as consumer goods. Classification of commodities. Grains, corn, wheat, oats, etc. Softs, cotton, sugar, cocoa, etc. Energy, crude oil, gasoline, natural gas, ethanol, gasoline, etc. Metals, gold, silver, copper, aluminum, etc. Meats, live cattle, live swine, milk, etc. Financial, bonds, funds, notes, etc. Indexes, Dow Jones, S&P 500, Nasdaq 100, Nikkei 225, etc. Currencies, USD, Euro, MXN, etc. Thanks.